Hello there. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the first episode of Morioh Archive Director's Commentary. In today's video, I'll be talking about the very first episode of this series, Morioh's Missing People. This may come as a surprise to some of you, but I'm actually not a big fan of the first episode. It was pretty much my second attempt at making analog horror, and honestly, it shows. Wait, what do you mean second? You may ask. Well, this channel wasn't originally created with JoJo Part 4 in mind. Originally, it was supposed to focus on JoJo Part 6, specifically following the events of Made in Heaven. I actually uploaded two videos about Made in Heaven, and that was my first attempt at analog horror. But ultimately, I didn't like how they turned out, so I made them private. I got the idea to shift toward a JoJo Part 4 analog horror because Part 4 already has a strong horror element with the presence of Kira Yoshigage and the mystery surrounding him. But what really convinced me to commit to the idea, though, was this thought. If you really think about it, everyone who isn't a stand user in the JoJo universe must be fucking terrified because they can't see what's going on. From the perspective of an ordinary person, the events of part 4 would be fucking horrifying. And we don't really think about it, we don't usually think about this when we watch JoJo Part 4 because the story centers around stand users. But if you really think about it, if you look at it through the eyes of someone like Hayato, suddenly JoJo Part 4 becomes terrifying. So, with that in mind, I wanted to explore Part 4 from the perspective of an outsider. That's why you barely see any Joe Bros in the Morioh Archive series. It's more about the people around them and how terrifying their world would be to someone who has no idea what a stand even is. I've had the same thought with superhero stories as well. Imagine living in a world where supervillains exist and you are in a constant state of danger. That would be terrifying. And honestly, maybe that could be my next project someday. I don't know. And since I was still new to analog horror when I was making the first episode, it was very, very basic, almost cliche in how it's presented. But there is one thing that makes it stand out, and that's the direction I took with the music. I'm a musician, I love making music. So, from the start, I had the ambition to give this series the best music in any analog horror out there. It's very different, and maybe it doesn't fit with traditional analog horror, but I like how unique it is. It gives the series its own identity, one that no other analog horror has. Even with how rough the first episode is, that goal was already clear. I wanted this series to be different. I wanted it to stand out. I also think this direction fits JoJo as a whole. Music plays a huge role in JoJo. Tons of stand names, characters are inspired by songs. So, for music to be a defining part of this series, it feels just right. The music and video direction in the first episode were heavily inspired by Alex Bale's Mule ARG, which is one of my favorite YouTube horror series. A lot of what I make in Morioh Archive is inspired by the things I love. There's actually a retcon in this episode. Spoiler alert, the girl at the end of the episode is Raimi. Now, the retcon is that she appears in the video at all. This episode is titled Morioh's Missing People. She was Kira's first kill, and because he was still sloppy back then, her body was found. I must have forgotten that detail while making this episode. It's a mix of how basic the video was, along with that retcon, that it makes it my least favorite episode in this series. And that's about all I wanted to talk about in this first episode of Director's Commentary. Also, I'm currently working on a separate animated film called Song of Hope. We will be launching a fundraiser soon, so be sure to subscribe to the Song of Hope YouTube channel for more updates.